Jeremiah Johnson was a 1972 survival movie. Although I wouldn't really call it a survival movie, it sort of starts survival and then just becomes Robert Redford living out in the mountains in sort of a meandering story without ever really making it very clear why is he out there. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the film. I think it's beautiful. It's a well-made film. It just looks fantastic. He filmed it out in the mountains of Utah, and it just looks amazing. It's a very watchable film, and the scenery, everything about it is fantastic. I guess just don't read into the story too much or look into what the plot is, because it's basically Robert Redford, for whatever reason, has decided to walk away from civilization and live out in the mountains, grow a really cool big beard, and even though he's out away from civilization, he still manages to find all these strange and interesting people who also have decided to live out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, he meets Bear Claw, who is this crazy old prospector guy who's living out in the mountains. That's one of the first people he befriends. He also has a lot of encounter with some of the native people, like the Crow Indians, the Blackfoot, the Flatheads. Has a whole bunch of encounters with them. Some of the story, it's kind of like, okay, I guess, in the fact that he adopts a son at one point. He also gets married to I think it was one of the Flathead Indians. That part of the story was maybe a little, okay, but kind of shows that even out in the middle of nowhere, when you think it's just him alone, he still winds up building something of a family. And what eventually happens is he has an encounter with the U.S. Army Cavalry. They're looking for, I think it was like a lost wagon train. And that kind of leads to a spiral of events that I won't go into details about because I don't like to give spoilers. But things kind of take a darker turn for old Jeremiah. And it's really good today. I hope this isn't going to mess up the audio. It probably is. So I'm just talking to myself here. So the film does take a notably darker turn, but throughout the duration of the film, Robert Redford as Jeremiah Johnson, he never gives up. He never just says, fiddlesticks, I'm going back to town. He stays out in the mountains. And I think one of the things that I found a little, I don't know, disappointing is I wanted to know why. What was his story? What was really driving him to turn his back on civilization? Because he seems like a smart, articulate guy, but something really bothered him in life that he just decided to turn his back on civilization and live out in the mountains. So a lot of the film could be really cold, kind of dreary. Robert Redford looks like he really smells really bad through a lot of the film, but it's an absolutely beautiful film. The scenery in the mountains was amazing. And that's about all I really had to say about this film. I think it's really good. Again, don't read into the story too much, but just watch it for the visuals. It's a beautifully made film. Came out in 1972. Normally I'm maybe about 20 or 30 years before that in a lot of the films I review, but this one was still good. There wasn't really anything debatable or questionable. I think there was some violence. That was probably the biggest thing about this film that would probably put it in a PG-13 category if made today. But beyond that, I think there was maybe some implied marital relationship, and I don't think there was really much in terms of profanity. But it's a great film, and it's one that's worth checking out.